That's Horsegirl from their brand new album, Phonetics On And On. The trio's second album was produced by Cate Le Bon and recorded at Wilco's studio, The Loft, in their hometown of Chicago. We caught up with guitarist-vocalist Nora Cheng, who's now living and studying in New York City. We start our conversation with a subject on everyone's mind in New York, eggflation. Have you got enough eggs?
No. No, I've stopped buying them because if you can find them, they're just really expensive. So I'm a big egg eater though, so it's been kind of hard.
Oh dear. No, I don't eat them. I don't like them myself, but I have a friend who lives in New York, New Jersey yesterday. She called about the egg crisis. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're up on it. Strange things are happening. If that's the worst that happens in the States, it'll be okay, actually.
it's a good point.
And you're going to school in New York at NYU, is that right?
Yes, yes.
How's that
Yeah,
how's that coming along?
it's going well. Well, I graduate in May, so this
Oh,
was the home stretch.
nice.
But yeah, I had class today. Now,
Hey. And now this.
yeah.
Well, are you studying anything music related?
No. I'm doing English.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a woman here. She fronts a band called Miss June, and she's up here and she did this wild performance, a really hard rocking kind of punk thing. But she's studying to be a surgeon.
That's awesome.
I know. So it's pretty
That's
cool.
like what? Which member of Queen was like an astrophysicist or something?
Uh,
Don't remember.
Probably
But
John Deacon, but I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised. I bet it wasn't Freddie.
mm-mm,
No.
it wasn't.
Are you a Queen fan?
They got great songs. I
Very
don't know them that well.
right. So the album is coming out. Well, here it's we're ahead of you, day ahead of you. So
Yeah,
it's coming out tomorrow. You have to wait a couple more days, I guess.
I know.
What do you got planned for the day? Anything?
We're having a party.
Yay.
Yeah, at Gigi the drummer's apartment.
Okay, well, that sounds like fun. And then I see you have
Totally.
a gig coming up in Chicago like on the 22nd. Is that
Yes.
the first of
Yes.
the tour and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, we'll fly out there next weekend.
All right. And Chicago is where you're from and where you recorded this beast of a record. So you did it up at the Loft at Wilco's place. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you been there before, or was this your first time in the Loft?
No, it was well, we went there like a couple days before just to like get our
Just to
bearings.
scope it out?
But yeah, it we had never been there before. I guess we knew some people. Like we had a friend who recorded there, but yeah, we kind of had no idea what to expect. But it was really great. And it's like super cozy in there because
Right?
yeah, they just have like couches and rugs and it feels it feels very lived in like a home because the Wilco guys all really care about that space.
Right. Yeah. So Cate Le Bon was producing. Was that her idea to go into that studio, or was it how
It
did the
was
thing come to happen?
yeah. We knew that ideally we wanted to record in Chicago just because it kind of aligned with like we have for school we have a break in January and we wanted to go home and that was also the gap we had to record the record.
Yep.
And we also just felt like of course we wanted to do it in Chicago. It's home and we wrote all those songs in New York,
Yeah.
but like we still wanted to have this sense of Chicago being in the record.
Right.
And the winter before, just 1 year before, Kate recorded that Wilco album
Yeah.
in the Loft also. So it was kind of just like she was familiar with the space already. We wanted to go to Chicago. It was like kind of an obvious choice.
Yeah. I've been to Chicago in January. It's not the most inviting place, but it's probably a good time to spend in the studio, right?
Totally. It was just like the only places we went for those 2 weeks were our homes in the studio.
Right. Very good. So how did you and Kate get together to make this record?
It was, I mean, years ago, kind of like more towards the beginning. of us being a band, or it was probably around when we released the first album.
Yeah,
Um, we had this like random offhand interview question about like if you could work with anyone,
sure.
who would you work with? And we said Cate Le Bon because we just like really respected her um as as a musician. I don't even think at the time we were like super familiar with her producing work.
Right,
Um, and then we kind of recorded these demos for this new album, and there was like it was obvious there was kind of this new direction that was more minimal and maybe like playful experimentation. There was a lot of like strange percussion on those demos and
right,
like
right.
glockenspiel. Um, and so our manager suggested it. And it was something that like we would have thought was too presumptuous to, bring up on our own.
Right.
Um, but the fact that like he heard this and thought that that was an option and that it would, work out well was really exciting. And we were like, yeah, like if we can do that, we would love to do that. And then
It's nice to have an intermediary who you don't have to go face to face with the person.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we just reached out and if everything fell into place.
Cool. So what kind of discussions did you have with her about the sound? Because yeah, you mentioned the kind of minimal kind of approach to recording, which is different than what you did on the first record.
Yeah. Um, it was really strange. We sent her our demos and she responded with like detailed notes about her thoughts on like how we could push them, which was something that like we had never let somebody in creatively in that way, like
Right.
musically or with the visual stuff or anything. Like it was very insular between us three. Um, so it was kind of like there was like an adjustment there, but all of her ideas, we were like, this, we can tell that she understands where we're coming from and understands where where we want to go.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and yeah, it was stuff kind of just like, what if we made this drum part more rigid or like I don't know. It was small things like that that kind of helped form the whole character of the album.
uh
Um, and then we had a Zoom with her, and it just seemed like we understood each other.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned drumming and percussion. Even on the first track on Where'd You Go, the first thing that hit me was the percussive. It was almost like Peggy Sue, Buddy Holly kind of.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
tell me how that came together, if you don't mind.
Where'd you go? Far, far, far away. Where'd you go? Far, far, far away. Where'd you go? Far, far, far away. Where'd you go? Far, far, far
I don't know how that part came. It felt kind of intuitive, I guess, with just I was playing like the most simple open chords that
Uh-huh.
you can play. Um, and then it just felt kind of like a fitting, necessary propulsion to that song.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then it does in the recording. I guess this is a little nitty-gritty.
yeah, bring it
Uh,
on.
in the outro, it does that same beat again,
Yeah,
but before it was just like a more straightforward beat. And so, I mean, all these songs all changed a lot in the studio, but that was just yeah, one thing that had to do with that.
right, right, right. And from what I read, Kate kind of encouraged you to write in the studio as well. Is that so kind of different than what you were used to doing?
Yeah, I mean, all of the songs that we came in with were like written. We understood like what parts they had and the melodies and stuff. Like
Right.
nothing came from scratch in the studio.
Gotcha.
But things changed around a lot, and um, the song that was built. I guess there's two songs that were built mostly in the studio. 2468, the vocals, we came in with that song, no vocals, and figured out the vocal arrangements just by Penelope and I getting on the mics at the same time and improvising over like the track that we had laid down.
2, 4, 6, 8, they walk in twos. Da 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 da, they walk in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, da 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 da, they walk in twos. Da 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 da, they walk in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, da 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 da, they walk in twos. Da 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 da, they walk in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, da 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 da, they walk in twos. Da 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 da, they walk in twos.
And then Julie was a fully written song, and that song has like I feel like a discernible structure with, you know, like a verse and a chorus and like a bridge.
Right.
But we totally deconstructed that song because it was written on an acoustic guitar. And now it's like this weird, slow synth thing that doesn't have like the only guitar on there is super percussive, like muted strings and these weird, like one note sounds kind of like what is it, Rosa Yemen, like squeaky guitar, like stuff like that. So that really happened in the studio.
Well, there's something on your plate. You wished it was more than you could take. We have so many mistakes to make. What do you want from them? To have the same dream 3 times a week. Fever's too big for you to keep.
And those are the 2 singles that ended up being released before the album.
Yeah.
Is that a coincidence, or is there something to that?
That's interesting. I actually didn't think about that, but
Ah.
I guess that just is something to do with there's this energy captured in those songs
Right.
of really just being in this creative space in the studio, and I guess that made them compelling and made us want to make them singles.
Gotcha. And what's been the reaction from fans from what they've heard already? Have you gotten feedback from folks about the new sound, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, honestly, all of us are kind of trying to like not read that much press, but obviously you like pick stuff up from just what people around you say.
Yep.
But it seems like people like it. I mean, a lot of my friends have said that it's like their favorite stuff we've done so far,
That's all right.
which is sweet.
Yep. And what did you think when you heard what the band sounds like now? Did it sound different to you than what you guys had originally come together for?
Yeah, totally. I think that even though it's, I guess, in the broad scheme of things, it's not been that long since our first album or since we formed, but so much I mean, it's just like this period of aging. So much happens.
Yep.
And we definitely, I mean, I feel like you can sense the through line in songwriting from when we started to now, but we definitely see ourselves as, you know, more developed or something. I feel like this record is like a lot more, it feels more mature, but I'm sure, you know, every record after this will feel more mature because we will be older, but
Didn't work for the Ramones.
yeah, it doesn't work for everyone. I'm excited. I'm very excited about
Right.
this album. And I think it's like when you look at the first one and the second one, I feel like it's a cool progression.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. And so you got to be looking forward to, are these songs more difficult, different to replicate on the stage and live?
Yeah, we've been rehearsing, trying to figure out how we want to translate those to the live set because I mean there are more unusual instruments.
Right.
But what we were also trying to maintain was we are a trio. We never wanted to go overboard in the studio, even though we had access to
Yeah.
all these crazy things that could allow us to just like, become very maximalist and like stick everything anywhere just because you can.
Yep. Yep.
But it still is roughly like we I feel like we can kind of maintain the essence of the songs even if we're missing some specific parts. But there is some like finagling that you have to do. Like for 2468, that song has kind of like a prominent violin part in the intro.
Right.
And we kind of aren't interested in having more than just us three on stage unless it's like a friend playing tambourine or something.
Sure.
But yeah, for that song, we're just doing the violin line vocally, which is kind of weird. It might
Right.
throw some people off, but
Well,
yeah, before that it's funny though because before that song came out, when we were playing because we played that song live before it was released. So people just like I guess we were touring with a band and they just knew that song as
right.
that arrangement.
So they
And then when
probably
we
hear the bits in their head anyway. Yeah.
yeah, but when we sent them the album, apparently they like played it in their tour van and then when that song started, they all collectively were like, "Oh, like that's crazy." Um so that was fun.
Good. And it does sound like you're having fun doing this. So, which is a plus. I mean, some people are kind of staring around and being miserable, but do you feel like this is kind of what you want to continue on doing for quite a while,
Yeah,
despite the studies?
no, definitely. I think that the studies actually kind of help in that we weren't able to like some bands to just go full in on the touring to a degree where you just get burnt out really early and then break up or something.
Right.
Um, so it's been good to kind of be forced to take things slow. And we're really trying to do this in a sustainable way where we're able to be in it for a while.
Uh-huh.
But obviously it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see.
So you must have had I'll just wrap up with, you must have had some idea before you got started with this, what it was like to be in a band. And so now that you've had several years and two albums, what kind of thing, what did you learn that
What have I learned about being in a band?
that maybe was a surprise or disappointment or revelation or something?
That's an interesting question. Um, well, I definitely when I was younger, I had wanted to be in a band for a while, even before I really knew how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what I just thought it would be cool and like I don't know, I just wanted to talk about music with people and surely I do that.
Right.
I guess I didn't, I mean, yeah, when I was younger thinking about being a band, oddly, I mean, I wasn't very something that didn't occupy me was the touring aspect. I think I was more interested in, I don't know, like maybe writing or the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I actually had few expectations for tour and then we did it and I don't know, it's like it I mean it's really fun. But it is like a strange altered space. Like I feel like the repetitiveness of tour is I feel like that's something that
Uh-huh.
I wasn't uh privy to
Right.
because I feel like you think about tour, you're like, oh, crazy stuff must happen every night. You're like
Right.
staying out late and you like meet such crazy characters, blah blah blah. But it actually kind of feels more like a trance-like state. You're doing the same thing every day. And like if
Yeah.
I'm talking to people from home or my parents or friends or whatever, I almost feel like it's kind of boring for me to tell you what's going on in my life. It's the same thing that happened yesterday in a
Right.
different city.
Right.
Um, so yeah, the repetition, I feel like.
Yeah.
Is.
Because I've seen some amazing shows lately, and I think, oh my God, they have to do the same thing 2 nights later, some other place, exactly the same,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
similar. What is that like? You figure I've done this. It's let's move on. Let's do something else.
Yeah. It it is strange, and sometimes you feel silly for, doing the same banter,
Yeah, the
between songs.
shtick.
Like you're doing the same joke that you did yesterday in a different city, but it killed yesterday. Nobody knows you did it, so you
Yeah,
should do it again tonight. Um, yeah, that is strange, but also, I feel like we tend not to change our set that much from night to night, so it truly is kind of like the same thing. We might change that for this tour because we have more songs now.
sure. Yeah.
Um, but I feel like there's kind of this thing of like this show is the rehearsal for the next one. So it's kind of this, you're always drilling these songs,
Yep.
and maybe in that way it can feel nice and productive. Um, but yeah, it is strange doing everything blends together.
All righty. Well, it sounds excellent, and I hope you have a good time on Friday, your little party, your release party, and hopefully you can make it down to this part of the world at some point. We'd love to catch you.
Yeah, we would love to go.
We'll consider that you're practicing all these other shows for your show down here.
Totally.
All righty. Thank you very much, and have a good day. I hope you find some eggs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.